The Indiana Fever just lost back-to-back games against the Dallas Wings, 19-0 run, against the Washington Mystics, 18-7 to start the fourth quarter. Lost the lead, lost the game. We just lost back-to-back games against teams we had no business losing to, even without Caitlin Clark.
It looked like the Indiana Fever has lost another game due to Kelsey Mitchell. Guys, for this one here...
Well. It appears that Kelsey Mitchell and Stephanie White have transformed another game that could have been won into a comedy video. Additionally, this one isn't getting away with it online. The player who had the best chance of saving the day, Sophie Cunningham, was left in the dark.
The best part?
Open to the public.
Sophie Cunningham.
Tell me, before we continue, if you would have trusted Kelsey in an emergency.
Coaching versus the Mystics, her game plan was piss poor. It looked like a third grader probably writ her game plan out.
Although it's rather unbelievable that we're still discussing this, the Indiana Fever never ceased to provide us with new content. Fans were screaming at their TVs during this most recent catastrophe, which was caused by Stephanie White's play calling and Kelsey Mitchell's incapacity to end games. And Cunningham, Sophie, she is standing there like the human answer key, arms outstretched, possibly mouthing, "Pass me the
That's
damn
basketball
ball,"
nightmare
only
territory.
to be disregarded like your aunt's midnight group
But
text.
the Indiana Fever,
if they had said it over the loudspeaker, the contempt would have been even more obvious.
Sophie, till late in the third quarter, you guys were struggling offensively in that frame. Second half in general didn't feel the same as the first half on that end. Did something change for you guys? What did you see as kind of leading to stalling on that end?
Yeah, I think we were just kind of slow. And every time that we're slow, especially defensively, it just somehow affects our offense. And so I think the thing that we just have to continue to do that kind of got us on the run we had before the last couple games was we were aggressive at the opposing attack on defense, and that led to easy transition buckets. That led to everyone being aggressive and on their front foot on the offensive end. And, we have new players, and that's okay. But, we just have to adjust, and we need them. We've faced a lot of adversity. But we should be used to that by now.
This is the result of unwise decisions combined with ego. It's obvious that Stephanie White believed Mitchell was her preferred closer, but Kelsey is as reliable as a dollar-eating vending machine. Although Mitchell is capable of scoring goals in bursts, history has demonstrated what happens when the game is on the line. She fumbles opportunities like clockwork, forces drives, and blocks shoots. Both the statistics and the collective moans of Fever fans who have seen this film too many times are truthful.
Second quarter comes around, slippage starts to start. We get up to a 13-point lead. Eventually it falls down. We end up 5 at the half, and that's not a bad half. Come out of the half in the dreaded third quarter, and we are flat. And I feel like in quarters like this, it just feels like we're slashing our own tires. Like we are stifling our own momentum at every turn we can. Like the team came out and they literally looked like they were uncoordinated all of a sudden. Like they were just missing easy shots. They were like overshooting. Like they were trying to draw fouls or something. I don't know what's going on with this team.
Let's take a moment to discuss Sophie Cunningham before delving too further into the finger pointing. This woman has repeatedly shown that she is not scared to step in
leaving her off the roster was
like a group text from your
Despite
aunt
not being a
midnight.
superstar, Cunningham is dependable, clutch, and exudes an energy that unnerves teams.
Dominate as a rookie.
And she was
The disrespect couldn't have been louder if they'd announced.
Essentially displaying a neon sign that read, "I got this." Stephanie White, however, decided to go with the least complicated choice. Simply put, that is coaching malpractice.
Here's the
kicker is
part
this.
for Nike.
Even second-year Caitlin Clark, who has already done more for this club than the coaching staff is due,
Kelsey has the consistency
utterly frustrated.
About authenticity,
After
about putting the
play,
game first,
her
about
face was
recognizing
captured on
greatness
video.
regardless of...
Furthermore,
before we
reading
get
it
too
didn't
deep
require
into the
you to
finger
be an
point,
expert
yet she
in body
chose to
language.
target Diggins' head anyway.
Total annoyance.
Let's pause and
She's
talk about
working
Sophie
extremely
Cunningham.
hard to make her squad relevant, and then she has to see her coach pass the ball to a player who has a history of failing in those situations. What every fan was thinking was conveyed by Clark's face. What on earth prevented you from passing to Sophie? Let's not limit ourselves to the last play, though. One possession was not the cause of this catastrophe. The entire game imploded. The crowd was into it.
And brings the
Fever
kind of
had
energy
gained
that makes
traction,
efforts look
and
like
the
amateur
Mystics weren't
hour.
exactly
The defense
invincible.
is nervous.
Indiana had
And on
several
this night,
opportunities to
Pure
take
essence
charge.
of why we fell
However,
in love with
what did
basketball.
they do?
She was
They
wide
coughed
open,
it up with
practically
predictable
waving a
offensive
neon
sets,
in the first
careless
place. The
defense,
commercial
and lazy
continues.
on
turnovers.
sign that said,
While her players
"I got
appeared
this."
disoriented and out of rhythm, Stephanie White appeared
Yet
to be
somehow,
reading from a coaching
Stephanie White
guidebook
chose
that
the
was
least
10 years old. This is the result of
option
combining
available.
inadequate planning with
coaching.
Forming
execution.
WNBA
And to top
viewership.
it all
Her
off,
games
the
average
incorrect player
malpractice.
makes the wrong
Plain and
shot
simple.
when it counts most. It's not even close to being covered by
And here's the
instant
kicker.
regret.
To the Stephanie White press conference, we know this lady is allergic, flat out allergic to the word accountability. Stephanie White takes no accountability for anything. We are going to watch her pass the blame to everybody. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to see it with you guys.
Fans
Even
also
Caitlin
weren't
Clark,
silent about this. Social media went
who's in her
crazy
second
as
year
soon
now
as the
and
last
has already
possession was
carried this
over.
team.
Videos of Sophie standing by herself on the
More
edge
than the
began to
coaching staff
circulate like
deserves.
wildfire.
Looked completely.
Both
They're still
Mitchell
sitting
and
on
White
their
were
hands,
being
too
ridiculed
scared
by
to-
commenters for what may have been the season's
cameras
most
caught her
foolish
face.
choice.
Unleash their most
They
marketable
deserve every
athlete.
bit
after
of
the
the
final
scolding,
play.
to be fair.
And you didn't need
The
to be a
referees
body
are not to
leaving
fault.
her off the roster
Fatigue
language
cannot be
expert
held
to read it.
responsible. Even
Pure
luck
frustration.
cannot be held
It was a
responsible.
mistake, but
The
Nike-
coach and the player
She's
who
out there
thought
busting
hero
her
ball
tail,
was a good idea were solely responsible for this.
trying to give
It also poses a more
this team
significant
relevance.
query.
And then
What
she
is
proceeded
Stephanie
to
White's
dominate as a
specific long-term
rookie.
goal
she
for
has to
this
watch her
group?
Pure
Because
essence
it
of why
appears
we
from
fell
the
in love.
outside
hand
that
the
she
ball
is
to a
more
player
concerned
who
with
loved with
imposing
basketball in
particular
the first place.
storylines
Failed in
than
those
with winning
moments.
basketball games.
The
You would
commercial
have written a play
continues.
for Caitlin
Clark's
Clark
face said
or
what
Sophie
every fan was
Cunningham rather than Kelsey Mitchell if you really wanted to win.
Why in the
It's
world
not
did you
rude to
not pass
Kelsey in
Sophie?
any way. Actually, it might be,
Sophie.
but that's also the reality.
But let's not stop
Mitchell
with
has
Pure
now
essence of
revealed
why
her
we fell
identity
in
to
love with
us.
basketball.
Final
She
play.
isn't a closer.
This wasn't a
When
one
under
possession.
pressure,
in the
she
first
is
place.
unreliable.
The commercial continues.
Nevertheless,
It
she
was a full
continues
game
to receive the
implosion.
keys when it matters most. That is
The
insane.
Fever had momentum.
And how do you not
the
feel
crowd
if you're
was
Sophie
Using
Cunningham?
basketballs to tell
Slighted?
the story.
to it.
You
And the
performed your
Mystics
duties.
weren't exactly
The
unbeatable.
floor
They're
was
too
spaced
scared
by
to
you.
tell with shoes.
You placed yourself in that situation.
Indiana had multiple
and
chances.
the only reason
This
you
is
were
what happens
disregarded
when you
was
let
because
to
of your
seize control.
obstinate coaching.
But what did
This type
They're
of choice
watching
causes
Wilson
players
execute
to
the
lose
perfect
trust
do.
in the leadership.
They coughed it
Good
up
luck
with lazy
regaining that
turnovers.
faith once it has
marketing
been lost.
campaign with their
After a loss like
sloppy
this,
defense,
the atmosphere
and
in the locker
basketball
room
star
must be
is
heated,
becoming more deafening
especially
by
because
the day.
everyone is
Predictable
aware of who
offensive
should have
sets.
taken the shot and
Stephanie
who did.
White
Little
You cannot
backlash
run
that
away
they're
from the
letting
truth
looked like
or
she was
from a
reading out of a
movie.
decade-old
They
basketball
disregarded
company eat
Sophie
their
even though
lunch.
she had the
coaching
solution.
manual, while
We
her
must
players
also
The
discuss
irony
the
is
standings.
absolutely
Every game
crushing.
counts
Looked
since
lost
the
and out of
Fever
rhythm.
aren't exactly sure of their
This is
Michael
postseason
Jordan.
spot.
This is what happens
Releasing
when you
games such
combine
as
poor preparation
this
with
is
poor,
detrimental
like no
to the
other women's
math as well
basketball
as
player
morale.
in
poor
They're
execution.
slipping into 8th
And
position.
then, when
And
it
if they
mystery,
continue in this
but they're
manner,
shattered most.
they will appear
You
to be a
top it all
team
off
that has
with a
so
no business
paralyzed
being
by
in the
the potential
playoffs.
player taking the
And
wrong
it's
shot.
unfair to
Too busy
athletes who are
managing
giving
internal
it their
politics.
all,
Instant
like
regret
Aaliyah
doesn't even
Boston
begin
and
to cover
Caitlin
it.
Clark.
To
They should have a
recognize the
coach
gold
who can
mine.
end games,
Decided
not
hero
one who
ball
keeps
sent on the
making the
coach and
same
the player who
mistakes
can't even
and
blame
expecting
luck
different outcomes.
was a good idea.
The irony here is that teams
This was
respect
100%
Sophie Cunningham
At this point,
precisely
that's
because
not
of her
disrespect
clutch
to this team.
reputation. She has
Side looking
demonstrated
in.
her ability
It's
to hit
long-term
big
vision for-
shots. The opposing
truly-
defenders
maybe it
are
is,
aware of it.
But it's all
However,
Caitlin Clark
it appears
not
that
winning
Stephanie
basketball
White
games.
missed the memo.
Because from the outside,
Rather,
it also
she
raises a
believed
bigger
it was a
Kelsey.
wise choice.
Well, actually,
To
wanted
allow
to win,
Mitchell to
you
charge
would
into
see
the
Mitchell.
lane as if it were
Question.
a practice
What
scrimmage on a
exactly is
Tuesday.
Stephanie White's
Naturally,
long certain
the
narratives
outcome
than
was
actually
also
win? We've drawn up a
predicted.
play for Sophie
Another
Cunningham.
score
Looks like
in
she's
the
more
losing
interested in
column,
force. Mitchell
a
has shown
squandered
us who she
possession,
is. Also just
and
the
a
truth
missed
is,
layup.
she's
It's
not a
ineptitude
closer.
masquerading
She's not
as a
reliant.
plan. Sincerely,
under pressure.
this
Yet
whole
somehow,
situation
she
is
keeps
at
being
Stephanie
handed the
White's feet. So let's go back
That's
to her for a
insanity.
moment.
leadership.
In times of crisis,
And once
a
these
head
at crunch
coach's
time.
top priority
And if you're
is to
Sophie
set their
Cunningham,
players for
how that
success.
faith is gone.
Incapable of failing,
You did your job.
not in a position to
The
replicate
locker
the
room
exact exact catastrophe that you witnessed during the previous game.
Who actually took it.
Nevertheless,
You space the floor,
White created
you
the
not feel
precise
slighted.
identical circumstance. How can
Can't
one
hide from
witness
board for no
Kelsey
reason other
Mitchell
than
miss a
sense after a
crucial
loss to
shot
film.
one evening
And
and
yes,
obstinacy
especially when
cloaked in
everyone knows-
ignorance? It's similar to repeatedly
igno-
trying the same damaged remote
It's the kind of
batteries in
decision
the
stubborn
hopes that the
coaching.
channel will change.
And every game
You have to
matters,
acknowledge
and
that
they
the
ignore her.
batteries are dead at some time.
The Fever aren't
And when the
exactly
chips
can't
are
hide
down,
from the truth.
Mitchell is just
We
that.
also secure in their
Dead
playoff
weight.
positioning.
Forget about her in the
It's about
fourth
the
quarter.
standings.
Even
Sophie
though
was the
she
answer.
might be
Have to
decent
talk
in the
seventh
first
place,
three,
and if they keep this
she
up,
constantly
hurt morale.
crashes at the
It
most
hurts the
inconvenient
dropping
times,
games like this
making her
doesn't
the
just going to
basketball
back their way
equivalent
into the
of Windows
playoffs.
Vista.
They're
White
sliding
hasn't
down in
figured that
results.
out yet. Furthermore,
and all
let's face it, Sophie Cunningham isn't exactly calling for MVP
who are giving
treatment.
everything they
She doesn't intend to overshadow Aaliyah
Boston
or Caitlin Clark.
the same mistakes
All she wants is to be trusted and perform
and
her
that's
job.
not fair to looking
when
like
it
a
counts
team
most.
that doesn't even
And her role in this game was
Instead,
obvious.
just know it.
Send the fans
But
into
apparently
orbit
barrel
with that
into the
wide
lane
open
like it
three.
was a random.
It is
Stephanie
blatantly
White
illegal
didn't get the
because she
memo.
didn't even
And of
touch
course,
the ball.
the result was predictable.
Sophie is most likely
Opposing
mentally
defense, she
reliving the
thought it was a good
possession at the
idea to let
moment.
Mitchell ball this.
I'm perplexed as to how
Sophie
she was iced
Cunningham
out by a
White
coach
teams
who is
respect
said
her.
to advocate for team
Tuesday
basketball.
practice scrimmage.
Team
She's
basketball,
proven
indeed.
she can hit big shots.
Unless,
clutch
of course,
reputation.
you're
Predictable.
Sophie Cunningham.
A missed layup.
Let's talk about Caitlin
Not
Clark
in a position
now.
to fail.
People
It's
tend to forget
incompetence
that she
dressed
is
up as
no longer a
wasted
rookie and is
possession
in her second
and a
year as
second
a
because,
pro.
honestly,
She is
this
therefore
entire
more
head
than
coach's
just the
number one job
WNBA's
and another
newest
tally in
dazzling
the
toy.
loss column.
The
Let's
Fever
circle
should
back
be
to Stephanie
constructing
White
their
first.
team
Their
around
players
her.
in a position to
And
succeed
this.
strategy.
She is witnessing
Now,
her
crunch time
coach trust
is
the
to put
incorrect player and
their
ruin
mess falls at
another
her
late
feet.
game situation.
They hit it.
How can
She's
someone
the
like
basketball
Clark not
version of-
question whether this
not in a
is the
position to rip
organization that
three-quarters,
will
but
enable
the
them to
fourth
realize
quarter
their full
literally saw
potential?
last game.
Because it
And
appears
yet,
that the
time.
answer is currently a
Dead weight.
resounding no.
Scenario.
This goes
I mean,
beyond
how do
simply
you watch
losing
it? The
games.
batteries are dead.
It has to do with
Batteries
losing
again
faith.
and again.
Additionally,
White
your best
drew up
player's
the exact
patience
same
runs
scenario,
out the
same
moment
disaster.
you lose faith
Kelsey
in her.
Mitchell miss a
For a
big shot one night.
franchise that
At
cannot
some
afford
point,
to lose
you
her,
gotta
that is risky.
She might be decent in the
Caitlin's
first then
response,
decide,
while we're
yeah,
on it,
let's run that
recounted
back.
the
Forget
entire
about
tale.
a channel to change.
Her expression was
It's
filled
like
with frustration.
That's not coaching.
That is impossible
That's,
to hide
and that's
on
exactly
video,
what
and the
Mitchell is in
supporters
crunching the
witnessed
same
it as
broken
well.
remote bout into
That
orbit.
wasn't a person who was
The fact
unhappy
stubbornness
over a
wrapped in
squandered
cluelessness,
opportunity.
downright criminal.
Shot. That was
Sophie's
the face
up by
of
a
someone
coach
who is
supposedly
tired of seeing the squad suffer from the same mistakes and
Now, a bet that
understands
she
that
didn't
the
even
wrong
touch the
choice
ball
was
is in
made.
basketball.
What will she look
Unless
like
your
in
name
year
probably
3 if
replaying
nothing
that
changes?
possession in her is Sophie
Given that
Cunningham
she is
apparently
already
head
this
right now.
irritated in year
Wondering-
2.
People forget
It
she's
won't
in her
be
not a
pretty,
rookie
I'll tell you
anymore,
that.
which is
It's obvious
team
that the
basketball.
Fever
And
front
how in the
office
world she
isn't
got
paying
iced out
attention
second
to
year
what
as a
fans
pro.
have been saying for months.
She's the foundation.
Don't overvalue
and here
Kelsey
she is,
Mitchell at
without
significant
Caitlin Clark.
events. She has
The Fever are
demonstrated her
supposed to be
ability
built-
to
That
be a
means she's not
closer
just
for
the
years.
shiny young player.
And you know what?
If that's going
She
to let me
hasn't.
reach my full
What do you
potential
describe
in
a
the
player
WNBA?
who has been given
Dear Clark,
numerous
how do you not
opportunities to
wonder,
show their mettle,
is this
but
the
never
organization seeing her
succeeds?
coach blow
A
another late
drawback.
game Mitchell?
Nevertheless,
Because right
she
now,
continues to get the
by
ball
trusting
as if
the
she were
wrong-
some